Welcome to Whispers of the Night, to a quiet place at the edge of winter. You've traveled a long road today, and now the world slows for you. Ahead, an old inn waits, its windows glowing like pockets of sunlight stitched into the dark snow. Drifts down in silver threads, soft as lullabies falling from the sky. Lanterns sway in the frost, casting halos of light across the quiet path. You open the door, and warmth greets you like an old friend. The hush of voices, the scent of bread and wood smoke, the glow of candlelight curled around every shadow. And while you settle in, remember, you can always return here to more nights like this, more stories waiting by the fire. Just follow Whispers of the Night and let this little inn of dreams become your home whenever you need rest. Here, there is no hurry, no weight of the day to carry, only stillness and the promise of sleep waiting in the golden hush. Now, find a quiet place for your body to rest. Let your shoulders loosen. Let the muscles in your jaw soften like snow melting under the sun. Take a deep breath and let it flow out slow, as though the wind is slipping through bare branches. Again, draw in the coolness of the air and breathe out warmth, like a fire glowing low in the great dot. Feel the weight of the day falling away, all its edges softening, all its noise growing faint. What's left is this, the gentle flicker of candlelight in your mind and the amber hum of a hearth burning just for you. Imagine you are sitting by that fire now. The flames curl upward in lazy ribbons, their glow painting the room in rivers of gold. You hold a warm mug between your hands. Its steam carries the scent of spice, cinnamon, clove, and a breath of orange peel. Outside, snow leans against the window panes, but here, inside, everything glows. The walls hum with quiet stories. The floor creaks like an old voice settling into song, and the shadows sway slowly like dancers who know the tune of time. You are safe here, held, wrapped in warmth as old as winter itself. Take another breath, and as you exhale, let the firelight sink deeper into your body. Feel it fill every corner with comfort until you are nothing but soft, nothing but still, nothing but ready for sleep. Warm bread and candlelight at the winter in the door that welcomes you in. You arrive on a snowy road, the wind whispering soft secrets through the night. Ahead, a door glows like a small sun, promising warmth and rest. Inside, candlelight flickers, and the hush of voices gathers near a hearthware. Bread scents the air, like a gentle lullaby. Asterisk, the night is quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like a soft quilt wrapped around the world. You walk along a narrow road where snow drifts in slow, silvery spirals, each flake turning lazily as if time itself has grown drowsy. The air tastes of winter, clean, sharp, and faintly sweet, like ice kissed by moonlight. You hear nothing but your own steps and the occasional sigh-off wind moving through the sleeping trees. It is a road that feels endless and hushed, as though every sound has been tucked away for the night. And then, far ahead, through the soft blur of falling snow, you see it, a door, just a door. But it glows like a promise. Its light spills onto the snow in a pool of gold, turning frost into tiny shards of fire. And in that glow, something inside you loosens. The long road, the cold air, the weight of silence, they all slip away as you draw closer to this quiet beacon of warmth. The inn stands low and sturdy, built of timber, darkened by time. Its windows breathe a faint mist into the night, and from the chimney drifts a steady ribbon of smoke, curling upward like an old song with no words. When you reach the door, you pause, your hand brushing against the wood worn smooth by countless touches travelers before you. Wanderers like you, each one drawn to the same glow on a winter road. You push gently, and the door opens as if it has been waiting. And just like that, you step from one world into another. The first thing you feel is the warmth folding around you, like an old friend's embrace. The air inside is thick with comfort, the mingled scents of baking bread and burning wood, the faint spice of something simmering in a pot near the fire. The floor creaks softly beneath your boots, and above, beams of oak stretch across the ceiling like the bones of an ancient ship sheltering you from a storm. You close the door behind you, and the sound of the latch feels like the hush of a final snowflake falling. Here, the night cannot reach you. Here, time moves differently, slower, gentler, as though every second pauses to warm its hands by the hearth. You notice the flicker of candlelight, their flames bending slightly in the tender currents of the room. Each candle burns with quiet purpose, a slender tower of light feeding on wax as soft as honeycomb. Candles are not just light, they are time made visible, measured not in minutes or hours, but in shadows and wax for centuries. They were the heartbeat of nights, their glow shaping stories and silences alike. When you look closely, you see how the flame trembles, as though remembering the winds outside. Yet here it remains, anchored in calm. Near the far wall, the great hearth hums with low, amber fire. Its bricks are dark with the memory of countless winters, and above it hangs an iron kettle, steam sighing from its spout. Fire is the oldest language of warmth, and here it speaks in soft crackles and glowing breaths, a conversation that has continued since the first sparks were coaxed from stone and tinder. You move closer, drawn by its gravity. The firelight paints your hands in molten gold, and the heat strokes your cheeks like a gentle tide. You think about the physics of heat, how energy moves, seeking balance, flowing from the hotter hearth to the cooler night. How every flicker you see is a dance of atoms trading places, releasing light in their joy. But here, science does not feel like equations. It feels like this, a glow that reaches through the darkened, says simply, stay. Somewhere behind you, a low murmur of voices hums, not sharp, not hurry, just the soft tones of travelers sharing fragments of roads and rivers. Words braided into the stillness like threads in a tapestry. They speak as people always have at inns, in the hush between journeys, in the fragile peace that only comes when you are neither leaving nor arriving, but suspended in the safe middle. You imagine the centuries before this night, pilgrims stopping with frost on their lashes, merchants laying down their packs heavy with spices, poets scribbling by lamplight as snow gathered at the window. An inn has always been more than timber and stone. It is a pause in the story of movement, a deep breath between sentences of the road. And tonight, you are part of that same breath, your presence folded into the long, quiet memory of this place. On a heavy oak table near the hearth, a loaf of bread rests beneath a linen cloth. The cloth breathes faintly with steam, and you can almost feel the warmth still trapped within the crust. Bread, simplest of things, and yet a miracle dot, grain ground into flour, flour mingled with water, yeast stirring life into the mixture like a secret whisper. It is patience turned into substance, time transformed into nourishment. Even its scent seems to feed something deeper than hunger, that primal need for safety, for home, for a world that still knows the language of ovens and hands. You lower yourself into a chair by the fire, and the wood sighs beneath your weight. The chair holds you as though it understands, Shad. You have walked a long way, that the night was wide and the wind was cold. Your shoulders loosen, your breath unknots itself, and for the first time in hours, perhaps in days, you feel the simple grace of being still. The room hums with quiet, the kind of quiet that does not empty but fills with the glow of embers, the slow bend of candlelight, the rhythm of boots drying by the hearth. Your eyes wander to the window where frost etches pale gardens on the glass. Beyond it, the snow still falls, but it falls without urgency, as though the world has grown soft and untroubled. You think about light again, how it begins in the heart of the fire, born from matter yielding to energy, and then travels outward, touching every surface with warmth and color. Light is a traveler, too, but tonight it does not wander far. Tonight it stays, curling close like a cat against the dark. You let that thought rest beside you, like an ember glowing quietly in the mind, because soon you will follow it past the door into the night, where lanterns sway like tiny suns, guiding those who seek not just shelter, but a place where time slows to the rhythm of a flame. Asterisk outside, the lanterns wait, their glass mouths glowing in the frost, small constellations on the earth, ready to lead you from this hearth into the deeper wonder of the winter road. Bread, steam, and the silent art of warmth. Your thoughts drift into the kitchen, where quiet hands knead stories into dough. Feel the stillness of rising bread, the hush of brick ovens, the tender crackle of crustin, the dark of winter nights. Each loaf an ancient science of patience and fire. The air in the kitchen feels different, warmer, rounder, carrying the weight of something alive. You step across the worn stone floor and hear the soft sigh of steam lifting from pots. There is a fragrance that seems to hum in the air, a harmony of grain and fire, as though time itself is baking here in quiet harmony. You pause near the long wooden table, its surface dusted with flour like a pale snowfall. Here, a pair of hands moves slowly, gathering and folding a mound of dough-ith, a tenderness that speaks of centuries. You watch the rhythm push, fold, turn like the breathing of a great, sleeping creature. Bread begins with something so small, so simple, it feels like a whisper, flour, water, and a living spark called yeast. Yeast, tiny organisms, invisible yet patienting, growing, breathing their soft breath of carbon dioxide, stretching the dough into delicate networks of air. This is fermentation, a science older than writing, older than the walls that hold this in. You lean closer and see the surface of the dough trembling faintly, a quiet shiver as if it is dreaming. And in a way, it is dreaming of becoming something new. Every bubble of air, every rise, is a small act of transformation, a story of time and chemistry told without a single sound. It is hard not to think of warmth when you think of bread, not just the warmth of ovens, but the warmth of waiting, the way the baker trusts the unseen work of yeast, the way the dough rests in stillness, doing nothing and yet doing everything. Patience is the secret ingredient here, and you can feel it in the room, as palpable as the scent of flour and wood smoke. Your eyes wander to the brick oven, its mouth dark and deep, where fire glows like an amber heart. You imagine the dance inside, flames curling around stone, heat radiating in waves like the slow breath of earth. This is radiant heat energy, moving not by touch or wind, but by invisible rays, warming the dough until water steams and starches swell, until the crust hardens and darkens into that perfect golden hush. When bread meets heat, it becomes something more than food. It becomes memory. You think of how its scent drifts through history, threading through kitchens of clay and wood, through monasteries and marketplaces, through ships at sea and homes built of snow. Every culture has known it, every hand has shaped it, because bread is not just sustenance. It is a symbol of survival, of generosity, of that small promise that tomorrow will have warmth. Steam curls from a fresh loaf cooling on the table, its crust fissured like the skin of an old tree. You break a piece just in thought and hear the soft crackle as the crust yields, revealing a heart pale as ivory, shot through with tiny hollows where air once lived. The scent blooms rich, nutty, sweet in a way only fire can conjure from grain. You imagine holding it between your palms, feeling its heat soak through to your bones, as if the bread itself remembers the hearth. And then another thought drifts in: how heat shapes not just bread, but everything in this world, and break apart under its gentle command. The crackle of crust is a kind of physics, moisture rushing into vapor, pressure seeking release, energy scattering into the quiet air. And yet, for all this science, what you feel is not complexity, but simplicity. It is just bread, humble, human, whole. You let your gaze wander back to the hands, still kneading, and you think about how this act, this slow folding and waiting, mirrors the rhythm of life itself. We, too, need time to rise. We, too, are shaped by the warmth of care, by patience that cannot be hurried. Perhaps that is why bread feels so comforting, because in its making, we see a reflection of our own becoming. The kettle hums softly now, a low note that drifts beneath the breath of the oven. Steam beads the air, fogging the panes of glass until the night outside disappears, leaving only the glow of fire, the whisper of dough swelling toward readiness, and the gentle crackle of crust-like, the sigh of something long at rest. And as you linger in this hush, you know there is more to explore beyond this kitchen, beyond these loaves, because somewhere outside, light flickers on frosted glass, and lanterns wait to tell their own quiet story of how brightness once led the lost home through the dark. Beyond the doorway, the night glimmers with small fires of its own. Tiny lanterns swaying in the wind, calling you to follow their light into the hush of the road ahead. The lanterns that guided travelers home. Step back into the cold, and lanterns sway in the frost like small guardians of light. These flames once whispered promises to pilgrims and wanderers, their glow marking safe harbor on roads stretching through history, stone, mud, and cobblestone, all leading here. Asterisk, you leave the hush of the kitchen, the scent of bread still clinging like a dream. The door closes behind you with a soft thud, and once again, the winter night opens wide before your eyes. The cold breathes against your face, its air crisp, edged with the silver taste of frost above. The sky is a deep indigo, stitched with stars that glimmer like grains of salt scattered on velvet. For a moment, everything feels endless. The silence, the snow, the night itself, until your gaze falls upon a small, steady glow. There, by the inn's wooden sign, a lantern hangs from a wrought iron arm, its flame curled within a globe of glass. The light is soft yet sure, a warm pulse against the dark, like the slow, glowing heart of the earth itself. And suddenly, the road does not feel so empty. It feels like a path gently held in Placebo, these little islands of brightness. You move closer, watching how the lantern sways slightly, as if breathing in rhythm with the wind. The glass fogs and clears, each breath a sign of the life it shelters within a life made of fire inside. The flame dances in miniature, its edges, sharp one moment, soft the next, curling like a ribbon of gold dot. You think about what it means to keep a flame alive in the dark. Centuries ago, before electricity, before the hum of wires and the steady glow of bulbs, light was a fragile thing. It had to be fed, shielded, tended like a child. A sudden gust, a splash of rain, and darkness could swallow everything whole. So lanterns became guardians, glass and metal cradling fire, protecting it from the world so it could protect those who wandered through the night. The history of lanterns is older than you might think, older than inns, older than cities. Long ago, people carried torches, bundles of sticks bound and wrapped in resin, their flames flaring in wild orange tongues. But torches were hungry and quick to die. So came the idea of enclosing fire in a vessel, keeping it steady, taming its restlessness. Clay first, then bronze, then glass. Each invention a small triumph of patience and craft. You picture the old road's Roman stones, slick with rain, medieval paths muddied with thawing snow, desert tracks etched by camel hooves under pale moons. On all those roads, lanterns glowed like promises, sometimes hung from doorposts, sometimes carried in hand, sometimes swinging from the high arch of a coach. To see one from afar was to feel a loosening inside you, a wordless knowing. Here is warmth. Here is rest. You draw nearer to the lantern by the signpost now, and its glow spills across the frozen ground, turning crystals of snow into shards of amber light. You notice the patterns etched into the metal frame, swirls like vines curling along its ribs, as if the craftsman wanted the lantern to look as alive as the flame it holds. Inside, the wick burns with a quiet confidence, its tip kissed by blue where the heat runs hottest. The science of it feels almost like magic oil drawn upward by capillary grace, feeding the flame in a silent, ceaseless climb. Light and heat together, you realize how intertwined they are. When matter burns, its atoms tremble and break, releasing energy in two gifts: warmth for the hands and brightness for the eyes that glow. You see is not the flame alone, but particles made incandescent, singing their brief, brilliant song before returning to ash and air. You stand there for a while, watching how the lantern's light spills across the snow, casting long shadows of fence posts and trees, shadows that seem to stretch toward infinity. It makes you wonder how many travelers across how many winters paused under lanterns like this, their faces cupped by firelight, their thoughts loosening in the soft tide of glow and dark. Your mind wanders further still to cities, long before electric lamps lined their streets. Imagine Paris in the 17th century, its alleys scattered with points of flame, or Edo in Japan, where paper lanterns glowed like clusters of orange blossoms in the night. Light was precious then, and so its presence felt like ceremonia, tender defiance against the weight of shadows. The lantern by the sign sways once more, its glow flickering but never failing. You realize it is more than an object. It is an idea that even in the vast, uncertain dark, there can be small, steadfast, things that hold their brightness and wait for you to arrive. You turn your head, and in the distance, you see another glimmer, another lantern swinging from a hook beyond the bend of the road. The sight draws you forward, as if each glow is a stepping stone laid upon the night. And suddenly, the dark does not feel like an emptiness, but a mappa constellation traced not in stars, but in lights made by human hands. You begin to walk toward that next glow, your breath rising like smoke, your steps sinking softly into the hush of snow behind you. The inn fades into a silhouette of warmth, and ahead, the lanterns promise a story that, and as the cold deepens, you wonder what waits at the end of this flickering trail. Perhaps a fire, or perhaps a quiet hearth where shadows dance and speak without words. Hearths, ale, and sleepy shadows. You sit near the fire, its amber song curling through iron pots and earthen mugs. Taste the spiced warmth of ale. Sip the long journey of tea leaves and cinnamon roots. Shadows dance across timber walls, telling silent stories that lull you deeper into stillness. Asterisk, the hearth is the heart of the room, a quiet pulse of amber and gold. You move closer, drawn by its soft command, until you feel the heat spilling against your skin like the breath of something ancient and patient. You ease into a chair carved from oak, its arms polished by years of resting hands. The wood creaks faintly as you settle, a gentle sound as if the chair remembers every traveler who paused, hard to loosen their weary bones. The fire hums in low notes, each crackle a syllable in a language older than speech. Logs stacked in the great glow like half-buried suns, their cores radiating a deep, molten calm, and when a spark leaps, it arcs upward like a fleeting thought, bright for a breath, then gone. You lean forward and watch the flames, more closely how they move with no hurry, curling and uncurling like slow ribbons in water. This is combustion, but here it feels like choreography. Atoms breaking bonds, releasing energy in little bursts of light and heat. Each flicker is physics made visible, yet it speaks in whispers rather than formulas. An iron pot hangs over the coals, its surface blackened with time, its belly rounded like a drowsy cat. Steam rises from its spout in thin white tendrils, curling upward until they vanish into the warm air. You inhale and find the air flavored with something sweet and spiced, a hint of cinnamon, a trace of dried orange peel, and the resinous hum of clove. A mug waits on the low table beside you, its clay sides warm, its rim kissed with sheen. You lift it slowly, feeling the weight, the comfort of its shape. When you sip, the liquid greets your tongue, wine layers of taste, the soft bitterness of malted grain, the sweetness folded within, and the bright spark of spice at the end. It is mulled ale, old winter companion, born from the need to warm the body and sweeten the long nights. You think of how many hands have known this recipe, passing it like a quiet secret through the centuries. Ale brewed from barley and water, the yeast weaving its patient magic, then the alchemy of heat, turning simple things into comfort. To that, a scatter of spiced cinnamon from forests half a world away, nutmeg that once traveled by sea for months, each fragment carrying the echo of distant sunlight. Every sip is a history of trade, of merchant ships riding the swell of dark oceans, their hulls perfumed with pepper and clove. You let your thoughts drift there for a moment to those long, certain voyages where sailors braved tempesto, bring a little warmth to some unknown hearth. You place the mug down, and the sound of clay against wood is soft as a heartbeat around you. The room glows in hues of amber and shadow. The timber walls, dark with age, hold the firelight like a secret. Shadows bend and stretch along the grain, moving in time with the flames, as if the wood is remembering Forestshire wind once played between the branches. You tilt your head and watch the play of shapes, a flicker that looks like a stag leaping, another that curls like the edge of a distant hill. Your mind begins to wander with them, sliding into that space where waking thoughts dissolve into the softer currents of dreams. The science of shadows feels gentle tonight. You think of how light travels in straight lines, how objects intercept its path, casting outlines that grow longer as the source dips lower. And yet here, none of it feels rigid. It feels like poetry made of light and absence forms that sway and breathe, as if alive in their quiet way. You close your eyes for a moment, and the fire writes warmth across your lids. You can still hear it, speaking not in words, but in rhythms of pop and sigh, in the hush of wood surrendering itself to flame energy you think is never lost. The heat you feel was once sunlight caught in leaves, then locked in rings of tree and grain, and now released again to warm your bones. That is a circle, an endless returning, just as the day will one day return beyond the frost-clouded panes. When you open your eyes again, the shadows have shifted, sliding across the walls like silent travelers. One of them lingers near the far corner, tall and thin, its edges trembling with the fire's pulse. It seems to lean toward you, as if it holds a secret, too soft to speak aloud. Perhaps that is what shadows are, stories the fire cannot quite keep, whispers it sends wandering across the room. And as you watch, you begin to wonder what other stories wait beyond these walls, where lanterns sway in the night, and snow writes its own pale language in the silent road outside. Asterisk beyond the hearth's glow, the dark still waits hand somewhere in that hush. A bed lies ready, heavy with quilts and dreams, calling you to follow the warmth upstairs into sleep. Beds draped in quiet dreams. Upstairs, soft quilts wait under the low eaves. Wool blankets lie heavy as snow. Pillows drift like clouds. These rooms hold centuries of rest-ins as sanctuaries where strangers once shared warmth and night whispers. Sleep itself feels older than time. Asterisk, the stairs rise slowly, worn smooth by countless feet. You climb them without hurry, your hand grazing the polished rail, feeling the soft dips carved by years of passing palms. Each step creaks in a low wooden voice, a sound that seems less like a warning and more like a welcome the old house speaking in its sleep at the landing. The hall stretches in quiet shadow. Timber beams run low, sloping under the eaves and along the walls. Candlelight pools in gentle halos, spilling from sconces that glow like captured moons. The air here is difference, slower, thick with the hush that lingers where dreams have lived for centuries. You pause outside a door, its surface paneled in oak, darkened by time. The latch lifts with a muted click, and you step inside to a room that feels like the memory of warmth made solid. The bed waits at the center, draped in layers that seem to invite not just rest, but surrender. Quilts stitched in faded patterns fold over wool blankets thick as snowfall, and on top, a pillow broad, pale and soft as a cloud adrift in still skies. You brush your fingertips across the linen, and the fabric whispers against your skin, cool at first, then warming as if it knows you. Above, the ceiling slopes gently, cradling the room like a protective hand. A small window peers out onto the night, its glass breathing frost, its corners etched with delicate gardens of ice beyond it. The stars keep their silent watch, but their brightness feels far away, muffled by the thick hush of snow. You sit on the edge of the bed, and the mattress dips with a sigh as though it has been waiting all this timito. Hold the weight of one more. Traveler, you let your fingers trace the weave of the quilt, each stitch a tiny history. Perhaps some were sewn by lamplight while snow piled against the door, hands moving in quiet rhythm, binding scraps of worn fabric into patterns that would one day hold a body safe in sleep. You ease back, and the blankets fold around you like a tide closing in, warm, steady, deep. The pillow receives your head with a gentle bloom, cradling it in down and silence. You feel the weight of the day soften, then loosen until it drifts away like a leaf on slow water. This is the science of comfort, though it does not feel like science at all. Wool fibers curling like springs to trap warmth, linen woven to breathe against the skin, down plumes creating pockets of air that hold heat without heaviness, each element wooled cotton, feather-shaped by nature to serve this simple grace, the act of rest, and then sleep itself. What is it but the oldest ritual we know? Long before language, long before fire, creatures curled in burrows and branches, closing their eyes to the pull of night. Even now, every breath you take slows in rhythm with the dark, your heartbeat settling into a quiet waltz that matches the cadence of the earth. You let your mind wander, and it drifts to the mysteries held inside this stillness. When you sleep, your body does not simply pause, it repairs, renews, rearranges its delicate machinery. Cells mend their torn edges, memories thread themselves into patterns, and deep within, dreams rise like bubbles from a hidden spring. Science calls it cycles REM, deep wave, slow wave, but here it feels more like tides flowing in and out beneath the shores of thought. The fire from the hearth below sends a faint warmth through the floorboards, a ghost of amber heat climbing to meet you. somewhere in the distance. The wind moves across the roof, its voice softened by snow, a long exhale slipping through the night. And in the silence between those breaths, you feel the room itself become a lullaby, the soft creak of beams, the muted hush of the walls, the patient breathing of time. Your eyes grow heavy, but before they close, you glance once more toward the window. The frost has thickened there, veiling the stars in white lace. Beyond it lies a world still vast and cold, a world that will wait until morning. For now, all that matters is this: the weight of quilts, the hush of shadows, the ancient rhythm that calls you deeper inward. Sleep does not ask for effort. It arrives when you stop asking, and so you loosen your grip on thought, letting each one sink like a pebble through deep water. The day dissolves, the road disappears. There is only this slow descent into something softer than silence, something older than the stars. But even as you drift, another thought lingers like a lantern in the mist, that when morning comes, a door will open, and with it, the pale gold of dawn spilling like honey across the floorboards. Asterisk, for now, you rest, but somewhere beyond the frost-bound glass, the first light of tomorrow waits with secrets only day can tell. A door that opens to dawn. Morning hums beyond frosted glass, pale gold across the hills. You leave the inn with bread in your pack, candlelight in your heart, and the hush of its warmth stitched into your memory, a soft promise waiting on the next winter road. Asterisk, the first light arrives gently, a pale thread unwinding through the dark, stitching the night with hints of morning. You sense it before you see it, that slow deepening of quiet, as though the world is holding its breath in wonder at its own awakening. You open your eyes to a ceiling washed in muted silver, where beams of wood rest in shadows soft as ashdot. The quilts lie heavy across your body, still warm from the dreams you wore through the night. For a moment, you stay still, listening to the house breathing around you, the faint murmur of timbers settling, the distant hum of the windows. It moves across the roof like a low, patient tide. Outside the small window, the frost has thinned, its lacy filigree melting into droplets that catch the light. And beyond that, glassy sky blooming from indigo to pearl, and hills brushed with the first sweep of gold. You sit up slowly, the air cool against your face, and draw the quilt around your shoulders, as though carrying the night's hush with you a little longer. Morning feels different here, not rushed, not loud, but soft, as if it has been unfolding for centuries in the same tender way. You think of how light travels to reach this quiet room, streaming from the sun like liquid fire, crossing 93 million miles of dark just to spill in gentle ribbons across your floorboards. Photons, tiny packets of energy, born in the furnace of a star, now painting your walls in honey and white. Such a long journey for such a simple grace. The brightening of a room at dawn, you rise and move toward the basin, where water glimmers like glass in a porcelain bowl. It greets your hands with a bite of cold, sharp enough to wake the last lingering shadows of sleep. You watch ripples bloom and fade with each dip of your fingers, circles widening, soft as whispers, until the surface lies still again, holding the sky in its shallow mirror. The room has changed while you moved. Firelight has gone, but the sun has taken its place, filling every hollow with warmth. It falls across the quilt, turning threads of faded crimson into rivers of light. It rests on the old oak chest at the foot of the bed, revealing scratches and scars like the lines on a weathered map. Every mark tells a story, and you wonder how many travelers opened that chest, folded their garments, and left again when dawn called them forward. Now it calls you, too. You gather your pack, its leather worn smooth by years of road dust. You slip in a loaf of bread wrapped in cloth, still fragrant from last night's baking, its crust whispering of fire and grain. Beside it, its flask of spiced ale, its warmth lingering like a memory of the hearth. Simple things, but they feel like tokens of care, like carrying a piece of the inn's kinness out into the cold. Your boots find the stairs again, and the boards sigh beneath your weight. The common room is hushed, its benches empty, its hearth reduced to a faint glow of embers. A broom leans against the doorframe, and the scent of wood smoke hangs low in the air, soft as a closing chapter. You step to the door, where the iron latch waits cool beneath your palm for a breath. You pause, feeling the threshold beneath your feet, that thin seam between inside and out, warmth and chill, rest and road. Then you lift the latch, and the door opens with sounds almost like farewell. The morning meets you in a rush of light and air. Your breath blooms white as you step outside, and the cold folds around you, keen and clean as a blade. But sunlight softens its edge, pouring across the hills like warm milk, turning the frost to sparks under your boots. You stand still for a moment, letting your eyes drink the wideness, the slopes rolling away in silver and gold, the sky lifting in pale blue arcs, the trees etched black against the bright horizon. Somewhere, a bird threads its first note of song through the chill, a sound so small it feels like a secret spoken just for you. The inn stands quiet behind you, its windows holding pools of light, its roof trailing smoke like a ribbon unraveling into the sky. You think of all the nights it has watched over the storms it has withstood, the feet that have crossed its floor, the voices that have softened in its rooms, and now your own stories stitched into its fabric, woven through the hush of its walls. The road stretches ahead, white and gleaming, curving toward Hillstatt, seem to float in the pale gold of morning. You pull your cloak tighter, feeling the weight of bread and warmth in your pack, and begin to walk. Your boots press soft prints into the frost, each one a quiet promise to keep moving forward. As you walk, your thoughts, but within it, hums an ancient power of fusion of hydrogen into helium deep in the sun's molten heart energy, flung outward in waves and particulacental. It brushes your cheek like a breath. Every leaf, every field, every loaf of bread owes itself to this radiance, stored in grain and fruit, and now in you, as warmth in your blood and brightness in your eyes. You pause on a rise in the road and glance back once more. The inn is smaller now, its shape softened by distance and light. It feels less like a building Gand, more like a dream you stepped out of, leaving its warmth behind to linger in your bones. Ahead, the path bends toward a valley where mist curls like white silk between folds of earth, and beyond that a horizon that promises more roads, more doors, more quiet place where warmth waits behind wood and stone. Asterisk, you take a breath, and the air tastes of sunlight and frost, and somewhere in that mingled flavor of cold and gold, you wonder what stories the next road will tell, for night finds you again. The fire has faded now, but its warmth lingers in your bones. The inn has given you rest, and sleep waits like a gentle tide, ready to carry you far into dreams as quiet as falling snow. Good night and sweet dreams.